This is from the Daily Wire. More disturbing news for you, if you wanted some more. The highest-ranking transgender person in the Biden administration, who is also a pediatrician, claimed there is no argument among medical professionals about the value and the importance of gender-affirming care. This is speaking to the National Public Radio. Admiral Rachel Levine, the U.S. Assistant Secretary for Health, used the opportunity to attack Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo, an ally of Florida GOP Governor Ron DeSantis. Levine accused Ladapo of putting out a statement based upon political considerations that is not appropriate. Ladapo had released a fact sheet on April 20th that stated it would clarify evidence recently cited on a fact sheet released by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And now the Health and Human Services, Rachel Levine, and he's coming out and saying not just that it's acceptable to perform chemical castration on children and to sterilize children, but actually that there's no argument about it whatsoever. And the response I've heard from the right to this is that, that's absurd, that's ridiculous. I mean, of course, there's arguments within the medical community about this, but actually, Rachel Levine in this case is more right than we would like to think. Not right about it being acceptable or okay to do that to kids. Obviously, that's child abuse. That's, worse than child abuse. And everybody involved should go to prison forever. But in terms of the medical community, the medical industry, there is now almost unanimous agreement because they've pushed all the dissenting voices out. And whatever dissenting voices could still remain within that community have mostly been silenced, or they have silenced themselves out of fear and cowardice. Remember, I have to keep emphasizing this because I feel like we're not focusing on it quite enough. It was the American Academy of Pediatrics last week that put out that book promoting, a book for kids, which was charting on the children's bestseller list. Below my own book, by the way. My book was, actually we just found out from Amazon, side note, that according to Amazon charts, Johnny the Walrus was the #1 book in the entire country last week. So that was good news. And this disgusting book from the American Academy of Pediatrics was below that, but even so, American Academy of Pediatrics, that was their book promoting puberty blockers, chemical castration, sterilization for kids. Okay? And that's in terms of the medical community, that's as mainstream as you can possibly get. And so when Rachel Levine claims, when he says that there's no argument that, within the medical community, it is a shame and an outrage that is almost true. There are exceptions, but they are few and far between, which does not at all, even a little bit, serve to legitimize this kind of butchery that's done to children and the drugging of children. It doesn't serve to legitimize it. What it does, unfortunately, is serve to further delegitimize the medical industry. They have delegitimized themselves by putting politics and putting ideology and also putting their own professional advancement above their oath to do no harm, to treat, not to harm. They've put politics, ideology, personal advancement above all of that, far above it. Whereas what is supposed to be the actual purpose of medicine is now, it's not even an afterthought in many of these cases. And especially when it comes to gender-confused children. It's not an afterthought. The idea of actually helping these kids and treating whatever ails them. And most of the time what's ailing them, it's a mental thing, and it's not even a mental illness. It's just confusion and understandable confusion given the environment they're in. And so treating them doesn't require drugs, wouldn't even require intense therapy in many of these cases. It's just sitting them down and telling them the truth and explaining it. But no, that's not an afterthought. That's not a thought at all. That's not anywhere on the radar. They're not going to do that for these kids. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.